Good morning. Today we're going to talk about layering our makeup, and I'm going to jump right into the nitty gritty. So I recently did a video that got comments and questions about layering. One of the comments, or a series of comments, was like, there's so many layers, I could never layer my makeup like that. I think thinking that too many layers, if you're layering cream and setting it with a powder and what that might look like, was going to end poorly for somebody with imperfect skin. Okay, so let's talk about that. There's some truth to, if you layer with products that are in competition with one another, or you layer too much of products, you may not like the way that it looks, right? If you're layering the wrong type of powder on top of something, if it doesn't work for your skin tone, your skin texture concerns, all of that is always going to be true. Whether you're wearing your makeup in one layer or 10 layers, the outcome and liking the outcome is way more dependent on how do I want my makeup to look? Do I know how my products work? And how do I achieve the look with certain products? Okay, so let me explain. I'm going to do a half face of the way this makeup went viral, why it became a thing 8 years ago, and then I'm going to show you the method that I used in that video, which is typically the way that I do my makeup and the way that most of my clients do their makeup. One involves layering and one does not. You will see I have redness, I have a scar, I have red here, this is hyperpigmentation, I have acne scarring, and down in this part right here, I have dark under eyes, which actually are probably not as dark as they look, except I'm lacking pigmentation in here, so that contrast is pretty extreme. If I were to take Seint makeup, okay, contour, main highlight, think of it as your foundation, brightener, think of it as a concealer, and lip and cheek, and put it on in the traditional way this makeup was created, all three of these, contour included, is going to have coverage. It was created by somebody who wants skin to show through. It's very important to know what is the expectation of the product. What is it from baseline? This is a sheer buildable cream. And I think that's important because some people only want something sheer. So if you're a skin tint girly and you're like, and a true skin tint, not one that's like actually a foundation but calls itself a skin tint, but if you're like, I just love to even out my skin tone and that makes me feel like $1,000,000, you will love this. Now, the thing about when you're evening out your skin tone is you still have to allow the skin to be skin. And that is the same premise with this makeup. You're meant to see the skin. Now, since all of these give coverage, you can do them in one layer. And that is how Kara, the founder, originally taught the makeup is less is more, let your skin show through, and put this all in one layer. Now, why highlight and contour? Because essentially, if you put one thing all over the face, and I'll show you one of these days, where if you just put a straight foundation and you mute out all the color on your face, it no longer looks natural. We naturally have dimension in our face. You can see I have a cheekbone here. Not as high as I'd like it to be, but I got one, right? We have discoloration under the eyes. If I take all the color out of my skin, make it skin tone neutral, throw on a little mascara and a lip and cheek, it's unnatural. But previous to 8 or so years ago when she created this product, highlighting and contour was really something that makeup artists did, or when you got your makeup done, it's what they did. Or if you knew or liked to play with makeup, you did it, but the average person didn't. And why is that? Because it was confusing. It's not something that like really our moms did a lot of, at least not mine. She wore mascara and lip gloss. So we didn't really have anybody to teach us, and formulation is confusing. So if you're like, ooh, I've been using Estee Lauder Double Wear in my 20s, giving myself just this like muted out look because my skin is perfect so I can wear something that dries down, and now I don't know what to contour with. Now you have competing products, right? So a lot of the times your makeup is messy or you don't get the look that you're going for because you're trying to combine a liquid with a cream, with a powder, with a different cream, and it becomes kind of cakey and just a bit of a mess. So she created this palette where everything was the same formulation and essentially everything was going to work together in one, so you never have to question, can I put this together? The answer is yes, it was created to be put together. She also created it to go in one layer, which, like I said, is great for those of you that are like, I just want to even out my skin. And on some days, that's all I want to do too. But for those of you that look at this redness and the darkness and the acne spots and you have something similar and you're like, okay, if I go to the grocery store, I could put this on in one layer and be happy. But if I was going to an event or I was going somewhere where I wanted to feel my most confident, I need this to not be peeking through. I want to be able to wear red blush without my red cheek exacerbating it. If that color is a distraction to you, there are ways to layer with this makeup where it will look incredibly natural and give you the coverage that you're looking for. So just because I'm going to layer it doesn't mean it's going to be a disservice to those of us that have mature skin. The majority of my clients, I'm 42, I turn 43 next week. The majority of my clients range from 35 to 70. And most of them, if not all of them, chose to go with this because they either knew me personally, so they're like, okay, girl, teach me. Or they found me online and they're like, I like this, but what I see everybody else doing isn't giving me the coverage that I want, so they learned how to layer. So there's a time and the place for both of it, and the awesome thing is this is flexible enough to do both. So let's just say you're like, I am the skin tint girly, but you're telling me I can do all of this for $16 a tin, and I can still see my skin. Show me how. Okay, contour on. Contour creates dimension. We're just enhancing the natural shadows that we already have on the face. Now we're gonna brighten, okay? If you have mature under eyes, heads up, the lighter you go under the eye, typically the worse that you're gonna like your under eye. Why? Because if you have gray, if you have dark, if you have those colors under the eye and you put something light and bright on it, what happens when you have gray and you try and put something a sheer white over top? Eventually the gray just peeks through. That's why we teach color correction, where we minimize the darkness, then brighten on top of it. However, not every day has to be the day, right? So if I were just teaching this in one layer super fast, I'm not even being picky about how I apply it, okay? Outside corner, inside corner. I am going to marry this together. I'm not going to go right into this highly textured area with a big globber because it will be a mess. But I do have a sponge over here that's going to help us reduce any of the discolor or any of the excess that we have at the end, okay? So now we brightened a little bit. Could throw this up into the middle of the face. Trust the process. When you're going one layer, it is a trust the process sort of deal for a different reason because it looks cuckoo bird, okay? I will be honest, I never bought like the makeup and did it in this one layer method because I was like, that looks cuckoo. I always have been layering it since the jump. Even when I didn't use a color corrector routinely, I was just like, can I just put my foundation on, then put a little contour on? Yes, you can. But if you want one layer, which again, most people say less is more in mature skin, and I get it, okay? I do get it. You don't wanna pile a whole bunch of stuff on that doesn't work together, but small, thin layers of a mature skin friendly product, you'll be very happy with your outcome. Now I'm just filling in the gaps. This is my main highlight. So I contoured. I love your explanation. Thank you, girlfriend. She said, I love your explanation of the process. I got some comments on one of my videos about, and it wasn't a mean comment. It was just a comment regarding like, I could never layer like that. And I get it. If you're using products that weren't built to go together, it can be a mess. When you're using products that were meant to go together and you're layering it in a way that's like conducive to it not looking like a cake face, you can be really happy. So that's it. Okay, there we go. It's skin tint, but with dimension. What's not to love about that? Here's where and why I teach it a little bit differently. Most people grab the 3D brush, and here's what they do. At this point, if they look at their skin and they're like, I don't like that. It's not enough coverage. Then they start digging in, and they get lots of product on the brush, and they start layering it on, okay? Sweeping it to get more. We dig in. Now what we're doing, they take this end, which is a really dense bunny end, and they pile it on, and you will see this all over social media. I'm not dogging anybody who does it that way. I'm just saying that sometimes people are trading quality for convenience in their explanation. If they can make it as convenient as possible, then they feel comfortable with that. When the reality is, it needs to be convenient and high quality, or people aren't going to use it. They're not going to come back. They're not going to be happy with their outcome. So you need a little bit of both. So once they start piling it on and trying to get better coverage from a product that wasn't meant to perform at that coverage level, that's when it does start to get cakey and tacky and it sits in fine lines and wrinkles. So is it buildable? Yes. Do you want to build it in a certain way? Yes. And this is just my opinion, okay? There are lots of people teaching it other ways that have tons of customers, and this is just my blush, that absolutely love their outcome. I tend to have customers that have very difficult skin because I myself do, and at one point in this business 3 years ago, had full-blown hormonal acne all over my face. Now I have the scars to show it, but it was present on the skin at the time. So people find people that are like them. They find people that have the same issues that they have. Does this look nice? Yes. Could I be out the door in 5 minutes and be happy? Yes. If you want something better, I'm speaking specifically to this makeup. Every makeup performs differently and has its nuances. And that's one of the benefits of kind of like digging in on certain products, which I've started to dig in on other certain skin tints and different creams to see how they perform, to provide you explanation of alternatives for those of you that are looking for something different. But I've been using and teaching this makeup for so long, and color is king for me. Like, that's what I have built my business on, was basically being somebody who valued understanding color on the face and what color takes care of that on the skin. So if you want skin tint, easy peasy, 4 colors in one tint, we can always get you a color match for just your skin, but better. It's how the makeup was created, okay? And this is a little heavier because I showed you essentially layering it on, which it looks worse in person than it does on camera. The camera is a bit deceiving, but I could live with this and be happy. Now, the way that I teach it, typically all the time, because people are looking for, at least in my demographic, how to feel better about this, is with starting with color correction. And if you're looking for a professional makeup artist who does not talk about Seint whatsoever, but she does an excellent job of explaining all the different things, go to Nikki LaRose's page on YouTube, follow along. She tries a million different products. She's a pro makeup artist out of LA. She does a fantastic job explaining, especially in a recent How Not to Hate Your Concealer video, why you would color correct versus just going in heavier with a traditional concealer. And like, this is the same concept on the skin. So I'm going to color correct with something that, if you're not familiar with the color wheel, looks ridiculous for my skin. But here's the color wheel. This right here appears to be redness. Redness on the skin in this way for hyperpigmentation is actually more green and brown, okay? So it lives more in this family down here. So for the depth of my redness, again, deep down underneath, it's not really red. So you're color correcting with something orange. That's why you're gonna see people, they look at redness, they're like, oh, red, I color correct with green. Hyperpigmentation and this sort of excess color on the skin is not red. The only thing that's truly red on the skin is a blazing red, like pimple, okay? Something like that. And I'm sure there are other unique exceptions, but for this, for dark spots, for sunspots, typically they're not quite the color that they look like. So I'm looking to color correct that area of my skin with this one right here. And specifically to Seint, I know which colors perform and which ones don't. They just don't all perform the same, even though the color science says they should, they don't. So this is Mango. My mentor in this business, she calls it Magic Mango, and she calls it that for a reason. I am taking the smallest amount. Let me see. Wish I had a darker brush so you could see. The smallest amount. Your brush should feel dry, okay? One little tap, and I am now going to work this product. You can barely see it on the skin into that trough of the eye. The sun is doing me no favors with where the shadow is at right now. And now the redness on the cheeks, and I could take a bigger brush, but I'm gonna work this into the nooks and the crannies because I have a ton of texture on the face. Tap. Okay, and now we're working it on. And this is going to be layer 1, but it's going to give me better coverage because eventually, throughout the day, this is gonna wear. Because I didn't color correct, that redness is gonna start popping through. If you're somebody who has a lot of redness here, people will ask, why does my contour pull red, right? And it's because you have red underneath that you didn't account for first. So now that color looks warmer than it was meant to look. When you color correct first, and I could do this as intensely or not as I wanted. This is just a pretty light color correction. I could go in and pinpoint all that acne, but I'm not going to, because I'm okay. I still want my skin to show. Even with this method, even in the comments on that video, she was like, there's so many layers and yet it still looks so natural. And I'm like, yeah, that's the makeup. Like if you learn the nuances of your makeup, you can get it to perform in different ways. So like if you're grabbing a skin tint from the store and you put it on and it's pretty sheer, the question is then like, what is it capable of? Can I build it up to get more coverage if I want that? Or is it not meant to perform that way and it's going to start to feel dusty, crusty, and it's not going to give me any coverage. It's just going to be more makeup. This one is going to give you a little bit more coverage with your main shade and your brightener. But if you truly want more coverage in color concern areas, you want to color correct. That's just the limitation of the makeup. And I think you're either trading full coverage or skin. And I would rather have my makeup perform to the level of medium coverage, still look like skin, versus full coverage, because that's my preference, not because it's right or wrong. But as I've gotten older, the closer I get to full coverage or products that truly dry down on the skin and leave everything muted out, I look about 150 years old. And I don't want that. So all I did differently here first is color corrected. And I just did it a little bit, just enough to tone that down. So what am I going to do next? In the first instance, I put the contour on. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go in with my main highlight shade, the small end of the blush and bronzer brush, and I'm going to tap just a little bit on. You know what will be easier to show? Let's take the pilot brush, okay? I want you to see how very little product is just sitting on the top of the brush. And now I'm going to press. And what I'm doing is tap, tap, press. I am building in thin layers till I get to the coverage level that I want. I'm not sweeping because that will move the color corrector, and I don't want to move my color corrector. I want it to stay where I put it because I put it only where I had color concern. And because it's that orange color, it toned down that redness because underneath the red is that blue and purple. And now in order to match my skin tone, this is my skin tone shade. So I'm going to pull it all together with that. And this is still barely medium coverage. In the video, I did a lot more significant color correction because I was doing kind of like a fall glam neutral. I can't even remember which video it was, but it was definitely one that was meant to be more impactful. So this is typically, even if I'm not going to color correct, I almost always put my main highlight on first because it's just kind of easy for me to put it all over and get a good neutral skin tone, where sometimes my bronzer looks patchy because I have the amount of texture and redness I have in that area. So I almost never do the one layer method anyways. You can, but I almost personally never do. So this would be layer, 2? I put my color corrector down. Put a little on my eyeball here. And now we have a really nice skin tone, and here's what you need to know about this makeup in particular. This is specific to this. If you don't color correct and you have significant discoloration or patchiness in the skin, you are almost guaranteed that you are not going to get 8 to 10 hours of longevity. And that's why you see people building up those same colors over and over and over again. But those colors they just don't operate in a way where you're going to get 8 to 10 hours of longevity if you don't color correct first. Unless you set it with powder and then set it with setting spray and find your own way of doing it, which is awesome. You can do so many things. I just know that most people don't care about it the way that I do. They're not interested in digging into it the way that I am. You know, I'm the makeup girly. I love it. You don't have to. But if I know the things, then you don't have to. I can know how it performs and what we need to do in order to get the outcome that we want. And that's the most important part, the outcome that you want. So I send you a color match when you're interested in this makeup, and it has like 10 or 12, 15 questions. And I'm sure you open it and you're like, what the? But here's the thing. If I don't ask you how you want to wear your makeup, how do I color match you? And I know a lot of people don't. But my thing is, like, if I give you this method and you have redness all over your cheeks and 3 hours later your makeup is popping through and you told me like nothing about how you wanted to wear your makeup and you were like, what the heck? If you're not if we're not communicating with what you want, I don't give everybody a color corrector. Not everybody needs it. But if you tell me like I want medium coverage and I have concerns of dark under eyes, hyperpigmentation, dark spots, I'm going to give you a color corrector because you're going to need it to get the coverage that you're looking for without looking like the Crypt Keeper. Like I think that person's concern was that if you layer a bunch of makeup, you're going to look older. And sure, there are instances where that's true. This is just not one of them. Where if you layer products that work together in very thin layers and then you remove excess with this sponge, you can still powder your face even afterwards and it's not going to look anything other than natural, but it's going to be like your skin but better. So now I'm going to get better coverage, and that's just with my contour and my main highlight shade on. And this is going to start to get from light coverage probably up to medium coverage when we're done, but not much higher than that. And in the video, we were like full blown medium coverage, which is about as high as I go. Unless it's like stage makeup. Okay, so that right there already has a bit of a smoother finish, especially in this under eye area. Like I look a little bit more glowy here, where on this side, this is where my redness was still popping through until I put blush on. So let's keep it really simple. No bronzer, no illuminator. Next, in this method, I'm going to take my blush and I'm going to go 2 fingers outside, apples of the cheeks. We're going to go up that contour line and we're going to create Hello Love Muffin, and we're going to create a lift. But again, we're keeping it very sheer and we have really nice coverage on that redness here. You still see my acne scars popping through a little bit, and I have freckling, and I'm okay with that. But we're gonna get really good longevity from this. Now I'm gonna go to my brightener. Again, we've already color corrected, and this is gonna make a huge difference in how much makeup that you have to wear under your eye, how long it's gonna last, and what that gray is gonna look like. Because I targeted the gray, it's blue, it looks great, it's blue with my mango. And the cool thing about mango is it works with so many types of discoloration. I can give you something that's a little more pink, something that's a little bit more orange, something that's a little bit more green. But if I can give you one shade, I'm going to give you one shade that performs for many different things. And it tends to be this shade if you're at a certain depth. So I color corrected. I put my main highlight shade just in this area here. I didn't really go all that much up into here because if it blends, it extends, and cream blends. This cream is cream, but not creamy. And I think a lot of people worry like, oh, creamy, it's going to be sticky or cakey or wet or tacky. It's like a cream blush, which is really popular right now, right? Like this came out before like cream blush was popular. So people were like, what? Now I think people are a lot less scared of cream, but I just want you to think cream, not creamy. It's not going to be dripping on your face. It's just cream. And the beauty of that is it's hydrating. So if you have fine lines and wrinkles, it's going to help keep them glowy as opposed to dried out, which happens a lot of time with foundation. Foundation has come a long, long way. There's so many better products on the market now than there were many years ago. And I enjoy trying new ones, but I always still, one, if I want a full face of makeup and I need it to perform, it's always this. And two, even if I'm wearing a skin tint or something like that, I love that I can have this and my skin tint instead of like 75 other things. Like you couldn't pry the palette out of my makeup routine, even though I have probably hundreds of other products sitting around here. I can't think of the last time that I put makeup on my face where I didn't use something from here. It's just very convenient, user-friendly, and it's like your makeup sister. Like you always have it with her. You always have her with you, and it works, even if you like to use it with other things. So I'm just down the side of the nose. So instead of going one layer all over like this, instead I'm being more strategic. Down the nose for the appearance of a thinner nose. So I'll go ahead and match it over here. Underneath that eye trough and outer corner. Now I'm just tapping to blend because again, I have color corrected in a lot of these areas. So I don't want to swipe or sweep because it's going to move everything. This is how we build up in super thin layers. You saw how very little product was on the brush. Same with every one of these layers. Very little product. Now, let's ensure no shenanigans here with things sitting in our fine lines and wrinkles. And let's make sure that all of our lines blend, okay? Now, as I do this and I pull off excess, you are going to see a bit of you're going to see a bit of that pulling through, because in that method, as I'm putting that on, trying to get coverage, it's too much. And because it's too much, it's going to remove the excess that's just makeup sitting on makeup. And with that is going to come a little less coverage. So just keep in mind that this is going to be a true skin finish, okay? On this side, it's still gonna pull off some of the excess, but I actually have used overall probably less product. And I'm going to get a better finish. So that's just something to think about, is I'm going to have longer wearing, less of my concerns showing through by layering it in a very specific way versus doing the one layer method, which this method, it is great for, I'm very comfortable with how my skin looks. I just want my skin to be a little bit more evened out. It is great for the pure makeup minimalist, where all this other stuff, you're like, Sammy, keep that to yourself. It's great for girls that are just starting out in makeup. Instead of watching 16, 17, 18, 20-year-olds wear makeup, and bake, right? They are actually moving to a skin is in sort of thing. They love less makeup, their skin, lashes, maybe a blush and a lip gloss, right? This is perfect for them. Or like I have a daughter who is 12 that wants to start playing with makeup. I'd much rather her have like maybe just a little tinge of like a foundation on a pimple versus, something that blends versus something that's going to be like a liquid foundation that's going to dry down and she has to make it everywhere because the skin around it will look off if you don't do that. So there's a lot of reasons to do both sides, and you can be both. I'm a skin is in girly for most things, but I need my makeup to perform for certain things like at higher level, and I can still do it all out of here. Now let's end this by talking about powder. So when it comes to powder, I am a big fan, where did I put that, of our Vanilla Dust setting powder for setting cream makeup. Cream makeup doesn't have a dry down, okay? Dry down meaning there's no evaporation process. Liquid foundation, your waters and your alcohols will evaporate throughout the day, as does the water on our skin from transepidermal water loss. It has nothing to do with makeup. It's a natural process of liquid evaporation. Well, what you're left with, if you're ever wondering, like, why does my liquid foundation or skin tint or whatnot look so good when I put it on, but 4 hours later, I literally look like all of the crevices and everything have cracked and broken? It has a lot to do with the way that it evaporates. This does not do that. There is no evaporation process. So one, it's always blendable. You can work with it. You can't make mistakes. It's also going to leave your skin looking hydrated. But creams are going to move a little bit. All makeup is going to move a little bit until it dries, right? And since this doesn't dry, it doesn't self-set, what do we need to do to not have our makeup moving any more than it's naturally going to? Here's the thing. So you probably can't see, but my eyes are deep set. So I have a shelf here, okay? Like my eyes are set further back in, which means this is like the lowest point of my face, which means everything collects there. Now, right now, I have no makeup sitting in those fine lines and wrinkles because I was very light-handed. Then I used my perfector. This would be the time to go in with a puff or your favorite brush that you use and put on just, I'm going to wipe off the excess, a little bit of a translucent setting powder to set this into place. It is not budge proof. This is not waterproof. This is not dry down. This is, let me set this without all of a sudden looking dry, okay? And it's going to set that into place. Anywhere that I have wrinkles, I set my makeup, or in the summer particularly, I get sweaty in the T-zone. You could be somebody who sets all of it. If your preference is maybe you just want a little bit of glow here and you really want to mattify and set this into place, great. Vanilla Dust can do that for you. The same way that a bronzer or a blush can set your makeup on the face. Just because we use a cream doesn't mean we can't use a powder with it. Doesn't mean we can't use a cream foundation. Where did I put my darn bronzer? Doesn't mean we can't use a cream foundation and use a powder with it. So why use a powder? It's a preference, right? Do you maybe prefer an all matte? No, this is not matte. But do you prefer a matte bronze look as opposed to a glowy look? You can do that. You just want to make sure that whatever you're doing, do it lightly, okay? Build it up. I'm going to use this. Why would I use this on top of the bronzer or the contour that I already have? Okay, let's pretend this is same in the bronzer area. Because I'm the same way I'm setting my face for longevity and the outcome of more of a blurred under eye where my makeup is set, I'm doing the same thing with a bronzer. You're going to get better longevity if you set a cream with a powder. I want Seint to come out with powders for the palette. I'm a big fan. Do you have to set it? No. Is my makeup gonna last really good because I did it in these layers? And like, I didn't even put on bronzer yet. So I'm like setting my contour blush area. Yes. But if you want the max longevity or you prefer a matte look in a certain area, set it with a powder. My best advice is, so like these from Dibs, they are very finely milled. The more finely milled and the more you start with just a little bit, the more you can control how much it looks like you have on the skin. And it's not going to be immediately like you have something foreign on the face. Like this is a glowy bronzer, okay? So you're still gonna see a ton of glow. But I also love a mattifying one. So this one from Dior, love it. I mean, I'm already like working through pan here. And it's not matte, but it's satin matte. And this one's gonna set it down. And in the summer, I love that because if I need my makeup to not look any sweatier than I already am all summer long, I'm gonna go ahead and use maybe a blush that's more satin matte that has a powder finish to it on top of my creams. Sometimes in lieu of my creams. Sometimes I'll do a little bit of this first and then bring life back to my skin with a sheer cream. Lots of things you can do. But it's the same concept on your cheeks. If you want more impact, set your blush with a powder. If you want better longevity, set your blush with a powder. If you want a different look, set it with powder. Maybe there's a super glowy blush out there that's in powder form that you love. Rock it. You can do layering on the face and still have it look natural. My recommendation is on areas of texture, discoloration, make sure you understand how your product performs and make sure that you're combining products that are meant to perform a certain way together. And when in doubt, for me, that's why I have the Seint palette, is there's never any doubting for me that this is going to get the job done for under eyes, color correction, my foundation, and a brightener contour if I want it. All the things if I want it. But I can also pair it with other things and get different looks by layering. It's just knowing how. And when it comes to this makeup, you can have multiple options, and I can help you with that. Now, if you're somebody who wants a more blurred look under the eyes, not blurred, sorry, brightened. Vanilla Dust is a translucent setting powder. It's not going to be the under eye brightening powder. Like, they're all over the market right now. I haven't really found one that I love. The Kosas Cloud Set for a pressed powder is pretty good. I can't find any right now, but let's take this one. This one's translucent. So this is gonna give me a similar outcome, but for me, this one blurs a little bit more. The magic of Vanilla Dust is it's so finely milled, that's this one down here, and it is translucent, that it works amazing for mature skin. This one is not as finely milled, but I do find that it blurs a little bit more. This is the one from NARS. But then they have ones that are a little bit yellow and a little bit pink, and those are gonna give you a brighter under eye. You just want to start small, okay? If you go on a puff on the back of the hand to reduce it to the most minimal amount, and then press it in and decide if you need more from there. If that's too much, take a brush like the N14 from Nikki LaRose. You see how thin this is? And you could literally brush, like press on, tap with your brush just a little bit in those areas. And now we're talking about the smallest amount of product. Then there are those of you that have oily skin. And, that's not the one. If you have oily skin and you need something that performs at a higher level, L'Oreal Infallible is amazing. The Surreal? Where is it? Makeup by Mario. You guys. I'm trying to find a way to put all this stuff. Nope. Oh, another fantastic one. Seint Beauty for under the eyes, for mature eyes. This one, I wonder if you'd be able to see it. I'm not even gonna play. This is amazing for mature under eyes. Now, it's not going to be like the Oily Girls Lock It In powder, but this is an under eye dream. Huda Beauty, what is this, cherry blossom cake that went viral. This is a nice one for mature skin. If you want a heavier powder, if you need something that's loose, you need oil control, or in general, you really prefer something a little bit more matte, this one works fantastic. The Touch Behold from Unique, this actually has water molecules in it. It literally feels like your skin is wet from this. This is amazing for mature skin. And then there's one from Makeup by Mario that I don't seem to be able to find here. Ask me if you need it. That works great for oily skin. So you want to layer your products with intention if you're going to layer. What is the goal? Because I can tell you this. The thing that I get really mad at myself for, because I play with makeup all the time, is I do the full face of makeup and then I go in and I over powder like an under eye, and I'm immediately like, it's literally awful, right? It's so bad. One thing that you can do, let me grab it. If you over powder your face and you need to bring some life back into it, Dibs Love Beam setting spray and the Vive setting spray, which is just sitting too far out of reach. These are super hydrating and they will melt your powders down. Not off, but they will melt them together and bring back some of that glow to the skin. So you see we have a little bit more glow here than where we just powdered. And you have to give this a little bit of time to do its thing. But it's going to help set your makeup, but it's also going to help bring life back into the skin if you over powdered. And then you can go opposite. There are sprays where you can add some mattification to it, like the new one from our girl Danessa Meyer's Yummy Skin Tint. This will take the glow away. This will leave you feeling hydrated somehow, but it will mattify, especially if once it starts to dry down, you press it into the skin. So I just wanted to explain, like, just because you see somebody layering doesn't mean that you're going to have a negative outcome. Just because you see somebody layering doesn't mean that you can mimic it in the exact same way. It's all about understanding the capability of the product and knowing outcome-wise, what do I want today? Do I want just an evened out skin tone with a little bit of dimension? Then this palette 4 would be great. And it's ideal for mature skin, okay? And they're $16 a tin. And this is refillable. These are all magnetized. So you're gonna pop this one out when you're done with it and you're gonna put in the next one that you need. And it's amazing in that way. So this is your skin, but better. This is the skin is in skin tint world that we're living in right now without ever wondering, oh no, but can these work together? Yes, they were created to work together and all three give coverage. If you want more or the opportunity to get more, all you need to do when it comes to Seint is add a color corrector. These are the same as that right there. So by adding one additional tin, now you have extreme flexibility, and when you want a more medium coverage or a more glam look, or you want, maybe you're somebody who you like your makeup to look like makeup. This is gonna be the key to getting that versus just trying to put more and more and more of this on. It's the same as any other skin tint or foundation that is only buildable till a certain point, then it turns into a hot mess. So that's my story, Morning Glory. Thank you to the woman who provided the feedback and the questions and whatnot about comments. I always find that if somebody is thinking it, other people are thinking it, or if somebody wants to learn more about something, other people do as well, or in general, just answers questions that I didn't know that people had. So I hope that was helpful. I hope you have a fantastic day. As always, you reach out if you need anything, if you have questions, if you need a color match, it'll be found below, or you can always reach out to me if you want to DM me. Okay, guys, have a great day. Bye-bye.